How are the levels? Good morning, you sons of... Steven Stamkos scores 2 goals as the Lightning win again. Fish, are you a fair weather fan? I don't know what you mean by fair weather fan. It means when the weather's fair, you're a fan. Okay, then I'm a fair weather fan. Because we live in a town of fair weather, and we'll get to stuff you should know here in just 1 second. But the Lightning go to 27-7-2 now. Good morning, Jonny Torres. How are you, sir?
Great, man. A little tired, but overall,
doing
pretty good.
Another late night of networking,
debauchery.
Of debauchery, yeah. Young
Yeah,
Republican debauchery.
If you can even put those 2 words together, yes.
Yes. Was it some political stuff you were doing last night?
It was a happy hour. You know, the Young Republicans meet once a month, and this month we kind of took it easy, because there's so much going on. So we decided to have a little happy hour at our usual meeting spot, which is the Attic at Rock Brothers in Ybor City, and it's in my opinion, it is the nicest, coolest bar in Ybor City.
I don't even know it. What's it called again?
It's called the bar is called Rock Brothers.
Right.
Their whole shtick is that they develop beers with rock bands. And
okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so 311 and Hootie and a bunch of these bands that they have relationships with all come and develop beers with these guys that they sell there at this particular bar. And then upstairs, they have a really cool music venue that sits probably about 150 people or about 100 people or so. And so they actually let us meet upstairs once a month. And
so you young Republicans get together and figure out different ways to take from the poor? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just throwing out stereotypes. Well, cool, man. Yeah, it was a great night out at Masteries. You know, this is week number 3 or 4 of my new trivia night out there. And the first couple weeks were pretty light. You know, and that's just the way it is. It's in the beginning, you know, and I can't get it, too much in my own head when it comes to stuff.
You don't want to take it personal.
No, I can't help it. But it was a packed house last night. A packed house, a great time. So hopefully that's we've gotten over the hump of starting a new night out there. But anyway, because of coming off of Wednesday night karaoke night where I'm out late, right?
Yeah.
I slept almost all afternoon, on and off yesterday afternoon.
Nice.
Well, but I got up, but it wasn't one of those things where you get up and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm refreshed. It's more like you get up going, oh man, I just want to go back to bed.
Yeah.
So at Masteries, and I know this has become popular in a lot of places, but those cold brews,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Coffee, not beer, coffee.
Yeah.
Cold brew coffee, and they've partnered up
at Masteries.
Well, here's the thing. They don't brew it.
Right.
They partnered with somebody, and I can't remember the name of the company who they partner with, and I wish I could remember it because it's a funny name. It's a great name. But anyway, they have this nitro brew.
Huh.
So every now and again, like, for instance, I'll be DJing New Year's Eve out at Masteries, right?
Cool.
And like I did last year, but instead of drinking all night, I will drink these coffees, these nitro brews, man. And boom, it's like crack. You were buzzing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I did when I got to Masteries last night. I'm setting up and I'm just feeling a little like, I need a little boost. So I asked for one of these nitro brews, and and Val brings it to me in like not a full pint, but it's a big glass full. She probably should have just brought me about half or a quarter what she brought me.
Yeah.
So I take a few sips of it, and I'm like, man, that's probably all I need. But I just can't throw it away,
Right.
And
it probably tastes good.
And it did taste good. And my dumb ass just goes, screw it.
Oh,
blah,
no.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, because, the gig ends at 8:30. I'm home by like 9:15 last night. I was not asleep before midnight.
Oh, jeez. So my thing ended like before 10, right? But I don't, I'm not far from where I live, so I'm like, all right, cool. And then my buddy Joe Wicker, who's now running for office, is anytime he and I get together, it is a guaranteed 2-3 hour conversation.
Oh, I love those people in my life.
I do too, but not when I have to be here at 6:30-ish in the morning. And so I know I'll be paying for it probably right after the show. All
right. Well, let's get to stuff you should know and then some items today. We'll also talk about New Year's Eve, and because there's, we'll talk about how New York City's on lockdown, how they are airtight there at Times Square. But is that something that is on your bucket list for those of you watching and commenting this morning? Is that something on your bucket list to do Times Square New Year's Eve at some point in your life? We'll come back to that. Flurries in Florida with stuff you should know this morning for Friday, December 29th. Even in Tampa Bay, question mark, question mark, question mark. It's possible, according to ABC Action News meteorologists Shay Ryan and Greg D. Although it is a long shot, a very long shot, there's a slight chance that Tampa Bay could see some snow next Thursday, January 4th. But a lot of things have to come together in order for that to happen. Apple Incorporated will temporarily lower the price of replacing iPhone batteries, hoping to ease the backlash over its acknowledgement that it deliberately slowed down old model iPhones. The announcement, along with an apology, came less than 2 weeks after the company said that in order to prevent iPhones with aging batteries from drawing too much power and abruptly shutting down, it issued software updates to what they call smooth out the power flow. At least 12 people, including a child, have been killed in a fire in the Bronx. This was last night. The first call came into 911 at about 6:50. Mayor Bill de Blasio called it the worst fire tragedy in the city in at least a quarter century. This will rank as one of the worst losses of life to fire in many, many years, de Blasio said in a Thursday press conference. Florida has joined a national program designed to improve mobile communications for first responders. FirstNet will be solely used by those who work in law enforcement and emergency services. Currently, departments use their own digital and radio communication tools, making interagency communications difficult at times. Once FirstNet is rolled out, all first responders will communicate on one network. It's also supposed to improve communications during disasters and large, densely populated events. I guess the issue here for law enforcement and first responders is once something goes down, everybody hops on their phone and it jams up the networks. Yep. So this will allow them, a side network basically to utilize during those times. Joe Manson had his tires slashed on Christmas Eve. Fish, that doesn't sound like something I need to know. Doesn't sound like stuff you should know. People get their tires slashed all the time. Wait, it could be in retaliation for something. It wasn't a jilted lover, by the way. He thinks the woman caught on camera puncturing the tires is a sex worker. Did he owe her money? No, you're making some assumptions. You're jumping to conclusions. He believes it was in retaliation for his work with Clean Up Kennedy, a neighborhood campaign aimed at shutting down the illicit massage parlors around them. The tire slashing took place 3 days after the Tampa City Council voted to move ahead with an ordinance designed to target illegal sex acts in these parlors. Rose Marie, best known for her role on the Dick Van Dyke Show, has died, 94 years old. And Steven Stamkos scored 2 goals as the Lightning beat the Canadiens 3-1 last night. The Lightning are now 27-7-2. And that is stuff you should know for Friday, December 29th. We're talking about New Year's. Now, by the way, thank you so much for tuning in this morning and watching us across multiple streams. You have Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter /Periscope. And then this morning, we do not have the audio-only version going out on Mixlr for a hilarious reason. When we were testing, we're trying to figure out which one of these platforms might be best for us to push out our audio. We came across Mixlr. And so Jonny set it up, and we weren't thinking at the time. It's like, oh, man, this is great. And we just moved forward, not realizing what we set up at the time was a trial, for this service. And then the trial expired, I guess, yesterday, and we didn't realize it. So we'll just have to reset that up and buy it and get it back online. But you can get the video version of this show on all the other platforms we just said. So good morning. Is New Year's Eve Times Square on your bucket list, or maybe you've already done it. For me, it is not, and never. I don't know. Maybe at some point in my 20s, I might have been like, it'd be kind of cool to be there. But for the most part, no.
I'd still do it at least once.
It just does not seem appealing to me at all.
I wouldn't say that it's a bucket list item, but it's definitely something I'd like to experience at least once.
All right. So if it came, a friend of yours calls you up and says, "Hey, Johnny, it's been a long time. How have you been? I don't have that boyfriend anymore. You want to go to I broke up with my boyfriend, and I've got an extra ticket, to New York City. Do you want to come with me?" You'd be like, "All right, I'm in."
Yeah. I mean, if yes, okay. Basically, yeah. I mean, if the money, logistics not an issue, yes, I'm in.
They get packed in like sardines starting early in the day, early in the day. And you read reports how people will take diapers with them. And just because you can't, once you're in, you're not going anywhere. You find your spot.
Adult diapers.
Oh, jeez. And I just can't imagine that. I do not like those kind of crowds. You ever done Mardi Gras?
No.
Me neither. Not on my bucket list either.
Not on mine either.
No.
I think maybe there was a time when Mardi Gras was really Mardi Gras. I mean, as we kind of know it, or the folklore alludes to. But and nowadays, I mean, it's probably just as tame as going to Gasparilla.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. Oh, you're saying if it were the old school, the old days, then you might be a little bit more interested in going.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all you heard about was people getting sloshed, and of course, all the to use the word for the second time today, debauchery that would happen along the parade route, and and then that's what was exciting about the whole thing. But to me, there's I don't know, I don't really see the appeal now, to go to something like.
I'm with you.
Mardi Gras.
I'm with you. It's just not my thumb. Big crowds. I've never been a fan of parades. The only time I think I ever had a good time in a parade was when I'm in the parade and I'm one of the ones throwing out beads. That's fun. But other than that, I've never gotten it.
Mind you, the picture you just pulled up just looks like she's being very judgmental about our conversation right now.
That's Rose Marie in 1970, dead at the age of 94, lived a very, very long life. Dick Van Dyke Show is one of those shows from my childhood. I'm not old enough to watch them when they originally aired, but they would run in reruns later on. And I remember how you have memories, but there's not maybe any emotion attached to them, but you just know they're in there somewhere.
Sure.
That's the Dick Van Dyke Show for me. Is in that category, knowing that it was a part of my childhood, but and I remember that I enjoyed the show, that I liked watching the Dick Van Dyke Show, but I couldn't tell you anything about it except for the opening. When that Dick Van Dyke always fell down, tripped, as he's coming into the living room.
I saw little clips and stuff, just as you do, just over time, but I don't think I've ever seen even a full episode.
She was 94 years old, known for her raspy voice. Rose Marie got her start in Hollywood when she was just 3 years old, and went on to appear in some of the earliest talking films, including the 1929 short Baby Rosemary.
The Talkies.
The Child Wonder. Starting at 3 years old, speaking of 3 years old, because I just happened to watch it within the last couple of days, but before the Late Show went on break, Stephen Colbert Show, he had on Jodie Foster. And she looks great. She doesn't look that old at all, yet her career has spanned more than 5 decades.
That's crazy.
And her first gig was at 3 years old, she said, and she was the Coppertone baby.
Oh, wow.
On television, she likes to stress, because the Coppertone baby that became famous, or is famous, is that one on the billboard where the dog is pulling down her little, shorts. And she's like, "That wasn't me. I was only in the other spots." But Rose Marie, 3 years old, when she first got her start in the 1929 short Baby Rosemary. However, she was perhaps best known for her work in television, appearing regularly on the hit television show Hollywood Squares, and starring as comedy writer Sally Rogers on the Dick Van Dyke Show. She earned 2 Emmy nominations for her work. Quote, she says, I think everybody decided I was the first women's libber because of that show, because the Dick Van Dyke Show. Because up at this time, women on television shows, they weren't necessarily professionals.
Right.
They were the wife that was taking care of the house and blah, 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 blah. But she says she says that many women have come up to her over the years and said, because of you, I became a writer. You gave me the inspiration, she says, and I'm proud of that. After the Dick Van Dyke Show, she went on to appear on the Doris Day Show for a few years, toured nightclubs with Rosemary Clooney, and she worked consistently for decades, appearing in a series including Murphy Brown later on, Hardball, The Hughleys. And the actress who received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2001 released a memoir called Hold the Roses in 2006. 94 years old. Jonny Torres, you going to make it to 94?
Not likely.
I just can't see. Except for the fact that we live in a time where it's modern day medicine and technology that gets me to 94.
Right.
Like I'm a half a cyborg, or something.
I just feel that getting to that age, there's going to be...
You all right? Need me to come burp you?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of medication necessary, and I just don't. I think that just sounds absolutely miserable to me. Like once I feel that you're not self-sufficient, like I'm not saying fully self-sufficient, but where you're literally needing someone to take care of you. At that point, I don't need to know that it's worth kind of sticking around.
I had the same mentality or the same thought for most of my life. It's only been in the last couple of years that's begun to change for me, because most people think like that, I think. And that is, I'm good up until I become a burden on somebody else, and then I can't have that. I'm out.
Sure.
And I wonder if that is just the exact opposite mentality we should have. Because basically what we're saying is I'm okay with life as long as I feel like I have control over everything. But as soon as I have to give up control to someone else, then I'm out. Just go ahead and pull the plug on me. I'd rather not be a burden on somebody else. Or
well, that's what I think it is that you don't want to be a burden on anybody else.
But it wouldn't be a burden. Like if you were my father, by the time you reach that point and you're like, no, I'm out. I'm pooping myself. I can't do this. It would be an honor and a privilege for me to turn around and wipe your
hire somebody, dude.
Yeah, to hire somebody to do that. Ryan Hughes this morning on Facebook Live. Fisher is a live streaming god. Legendary. Getting woke with the Wake.Show. Ryan, you are awesome. Thank you, Ryan. You can stream us on Facebook Live and YouTube and Periscope via Twitter. Now, Periscope, you can still pull up Periscope separately, independently from Twitter.
Correct. It does have its own native app.
Okay. So we're live on, but if you're watching something live on Twitter, it's not Twitter Live. It's their Periscope.
It's Periscope integrated into All
right, let's talk about some sex workers.
Oh boy.
And it is hard to believe that here in the Bay Area, here in Tampa, on Kennedy Boulevard, specifically where they have this Clean Up Kennedy campaign going on, because we have so many of these what they call Jack Shacks. I mean, what they call massage parlors. and so they're trying to clean them up. But the funny thing is the pushback that they're getting. Like, you wouldn't think there's any pushback.
Right.
But there's a group out there, or groups out there, that are protesting this stuff, saying this is hurting the women that are in these massage parlors, the sex workers themselves. F you! What are you talking about? Half of these women are here because they're indentured servants or slaves trying to work off some debt because they were made here from another country, and they're being exploited and taken advantage of. I find it hard to believe that all these women are grew up with visions of one day. I almost broke our
work in the streets, Kennedy.
Well, I almost broke our radio rule. As far as censorship goes with this show around here, we can basically do almost anything because it's the internet. But we want to have some standards for our own show. So basically it's radio rules plus shit. For me, Johnny likes to just stick with radio rules. But for our guests, we're not going to apply any rules. If they start dropping F-bombs on us, like Paul Mercurio did.
Sure.
Great comedian, was one of the original writers for The Daily Show, going way back. And, we don't want to censor. Since we don't have to, we don't want to.
Right.
And let the guests on the show come in and do what they do.
Because I think that it's their personality coming out.
But I almost...
and most of our guests probably won't cuss. But you'll have your Paul Mercurios and those types of guys that's just who they are. And if you allow them to be who they are, you'll get a much better interview out of it.
Much more compelling. So I almost broke our radio rule